This is an introduction to our curriculum mapping program that we're going to be doing on February the 12th. We'll be having a faculty meeting then. We'll be going into how we're going to do this. But I wanted to give you an introduction to what curriculum mapping is, so you'll have an idea of why we're doing this and what we're going to be doing. So first, let's think about this. What is curriculum mapping? Well, there are two key words there. The first one is the word curriculum. What is a curriculum when we think about that? Well, it comes from a Latin word that means race course. And that's literally what it means. It's a track, it's a method, it's a path that you take to get somewhere. And in a school setting, a curriculum refers to everything that you do instructionally. All that we do instructionally, we're not talking here about, okay, how do kids go to the bathroom or things like that, but everything that goes on in the school that is of an instructional nature is our curriculum. Now, this is different than what people normally talk about. The way people normally use the word, it usually comes up when parents might ask, what curriculum do you use? And what they mean by that is what textbooks you use. It's important that we see that curriculum is not textbooks. Textbooks are tools that help us teach our curriculum. The curriculum is what we teach, whether that comes from a textbook, or it comes from a lecture, or it's on a PowerPoint, or however it is we teach it. That is what our curriculum is. It's what we teach. We don't teach textbooks. We teach content. And so we need to keep this distinct. When we're talking about curriculum mapping, we're not talking about the textbooks. We're talking about the material that we teach. So then there's the second word here, though, mapping. So what do we mean when we talk about curriculum mapping? Well, I can quote from Heidi Hayes Jacobs, who is basically the guru of curriculum mapping. She says that curriculum mapping is a procedure for collecting and maintaining a database of the operational curriculum in a school. Operational curriculum means the curriculum that you're actually intending to teach. And what she says is that this encourages professional conversations in curriculum, instruction, and assessment. That is, we are able now to begin to talk systematically about these things. We don't just teach something because it's in the textbook or teach something because it's in the teacher's manual. We think, why am I teaching this? Why am I teaching third graders how to add fractions? Why am I teaching ninth graders Old Testament survey? Why am I doing this? What am I teaching them? What is the sequence that I'm using? So that we can start thinking about this intentionally, thinking about it directly, and not just thinking, well, I just teach whatever comes next in the textbook. We want to think about it seriously and have professional conversations about our curriculum and the instruction and the assessment that we use. So, what are the benefits of curriculum mapping? Well, for one thing, it helps us address gaps and repetitions in our curriculum, both vertically and horizontally. Vertically refers to across grade levels, and horizontally is within a grade level. And you might see where you have gaps. Maybe, for example, you see that you teach addition of like fractions in third grade, but you don't get addition of unlike fractions until sixth grade. And you say, those ought to be taught closer together. So you can adjust that. Or you might see overlaps. Maybe you see that you're having the students memorize the Gettysburg Address in 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grades. And you can cut that down and say, well, let's have them memorize something different. You can see where there are repetitions. You can see where there are gaps. These are examples between grade levels, but you can also see it within your own grade. Maybe you see that in the first unit you're teaching some particular concept. Maybe you're teaching about diagramming sentences, and you teach them how to diagram just the subject and the predicate. the basic subject and predicate in the first quarter, and you don't get to adding adjectives to it until the fourth quarter. And by then, they've forgotten how to do the basic subject and predicate. So you can see these things. And the mapping process helps us to see this a lot easier than it does just by looking at the textbooks or looking at the materials or working through them during the year. It also aids communication between grade levels. You see, we believe in some degree of flexibility by the teacher. We don't script everything that you do, and we allow you, okay, if you decide that some topic that you're going to deal with might be better dealt with later in the year than earlier in the year, we allow that. But you also know that there are things that come up. Maybe there is something in the textbook and you decide, I don't think this is very important. When I taught geometry, there were some things that I realized that, the kids really don't need to do this. And the thing was, I checked with other math teachers to make sure that it wasn't something they were going to come across next year and that they needed to know. But the curriculum mapping helps with this communication. If you teach fourth grade, and you know that kids in fifth grade are going to need to know how to multiply three-digit numbers, you know that you can't skip teaching them two-digit multiplication. Or the high school English teacher, he can notice that students in the 8th grade learn how to do a character analysis in literature, so he can build on that rather than thinking, well, they've never heard that before. It aids that communication between grade levels. So the third point is that it helps us connect all of our initiatives together: the curriculum, assessment, instruction, and professional development. As I and the principals look at what is being done in the classroom, we can start seeing, okay, where are the gaps? How can we enhance things? How can we build on this? What professional development is needed to help you in what you're teaching? That helps us to put all of that together. And then it helps integrate cross-curricular skills, reading, writing, research, technology, and so on. For example, if a teacher sees that students have learned how to format citations in the tech class, then he can build on that when he has the students write a paper in history. And so you see how things are fitting together, and one teacher can build on what another teacher is doing when they see all of these things going together. So, this is a massive undertaking if we were to do it manually. I mean, think back to 2009 when we did the academic manuals for our last accreditation. And I'm looking at that here in my office, and it's a huge binder that has all of that. And all that binder has are just goals of varying specificity. I mean, some goals are as broad as the students will learn the Old Testament. Some goals are as narrow and micro level as to say students will learn Genesis 1:1. And so that manual doesn't deal with assessment, it doesn't deal with methods, it doesn't deal with other things that might help us. And if you were to try to correlate that across grade levels and say, well, when do we teach the story of Abraham and Isaac, for example? What grades do we teach that in? What grades do we teach the definition of an adjective? When do we do that? Well, it would involve somebody just looking manually through all those documents and trying to figure that out. Technology, see, comes in here. And if we are going to try to correlate things across grades, and so there's technology that helps us to do this. And there's several programs available, but we're going to be using this one that's called Curriculum Track. It's run by Christians for Christian schools. Many of the schools involved in it are Christian Schools International, not ACSI, but CSI, which is primarily a Christian Reformed group. And the head of it, Dan Behrens, is a very solid Christian. And they have developed this program and put it out at a very affordable rate because they know Christian schools don't have thousands of dollars to spend on software. And believe me, some of the software that does this is in the thousands of dollars annually to use it. This program is a lot more affordable because they want to minister to Christian schools. It's a very robust program, though. And so that's what we're going to be using when we get together. Now, to begin, I'd like for you in the next day or so, or sometime before that meeting, you're going to get an email that has login information. It will give you your username and a temporary password. Now that password will need to be changed initially, and it will give you this website, or you may go, I've shortened the website, if you go to bit.ly/Kertrack. That's an easy way to remember the website. That will take you to the same place. But you can go to that website, go ahead and try logging on, use the username and password that you're given, change your password, and then look and see, because the first screen you see should be a list of your courses. So make sure that the courses that you teach are there, and that there's not something listed that you don't teach. Like if you teach second grade, be sure it doesn't show you teaching AP Calculus or something like that. If there's a problem, just let me know and I can get things fixed up. But this will get you started, and then when we get together on February 12th, I'll be going over more information and going through some instructions in detail. But I hope this is helpful and will get you started on curriculum track.